Okay, y'all. I wanted to try to do a story time. I've enjoyed listening to quite a few little story times on different YouTube channels, particularly, I think it's Olds Mob 455. They tend to have little story times on there that are interesting, and it just kind of brought back some memories of where I grew up down in Memphis, Tennessee, and how we used to, enjoy our cars by just meeting up at the cruise-ins or going out and street racing. Now, I do know a lot of people have a negative connotation when a person uses the term street racing, but I assure you, back in the mid to late 80s, when we were doing a lot of our street racing, it was very organized. It's not anything that we felt was dangerous, and to support our theory, it wasn't uncommon to have the Memphis police park out and watch us race. I mean, for an example, we would go out off 78 Highway to the A.S. Barbaro area. It was like a warehouse near the Sealy plant that made mattresses, and they had a huge, wide, it was really wide road. You could probably fit 3 or 4 cars on there easy. And on one side, the south side of the road is pure, just open field at that time. I'm sure it's probably developed by now. And then on the north side of the road, you had that huge parking lot for like 18-wheelers, so the 18-wheelers could get in there and get in and out of the loading docks. So it was a really good setup because you had a nice wide road where you could race an 1/8 mile. You had areas for people to park and watch. And, a lot of times people would park up on the hill at the Sealy mattress parking lot, and the police would just sit up there and watch the races. Now, granted, if someone did something stupid or was, out there throwing beer bottles or, doing something that was going to get everybody run off, granted, the police are going to be police and they're going to do their job. But for the most part, it was a good time. Everybody went out there, everybody was safe and responsible, and there were no complaints. Well, some friends of ours from high school, Clint and Brent Owens, they had not the fastest vehicle on the street, but they had a really good reputation with street racing, especially with vehicles that would run around 750 to 780 in the 8s, which is like 1220 to high 11s if we raced quarter. Back then, we didn't race quarter mile because this was before they built and opened the Memphis Motorsports quarter mile track. So for us, racing was 1/8 mile. Like if we were going to race, we would go to the Byhalia, Mississippi 1/8 mile track, and that's where we all grew up racing. So long story short, the twins, Clint and Brent, they had a truck that they'd had ever since we were in high school at Sheffield. And it was a 1965 short wheelbase Chevy custom fleet side. So it was a short wheelbase fleet side custom 1965, which probably because of that vehicle is my all-time favorite Chevy truck. Would love to have one day. I'm not putting it out of the possibility, but we'll see how that turns out. But what made their vehicle so successful in street racing was they had the whole truck lowered all the way around. They had tubbed and tucked 1432 Firestone slicks under the back of that truck. So where most cars that were similar in performance to their truck at the track, they were at a huge disadvantage running on the street. They had a 396 big block Chevy with a Lanati cam, gear drive. I have no idea what kind of heads. They had a tunnel ram with 2 600 Hollies, 3500 converter, and 456 gears with those big 1432 slicks. Well, if any of you guys go back and research how Farm Truck got to be so famous, he built a really fast old Chevy pickup truck. But what made him successful on the street was he had big old fat tires on that truck, and generally would out-launch a lot of the people he raced, so he was able to beat cars that technically would be faster than him at the track, because if you can launch hard enough on somebody on a dig, you can literally jump out so far ahead of them that they can't catch you. You know, I've done that a lot. But what Clint and Brent did back in the, you know, middle of the, I'd say between 84 and 87 when they built the truck, they had built a really consistent dig truck that could out-launch just about anybody, and it had enough power with that big block to, you know, pull the top end pretty decent. Well, one of these nights we're out cruising. I was in my 70 Chevelle, my little 1380 327 car. So we went out and we were cruising where we raced, and everybody's parked talking. A friend of ours named Jimmy Wade, he purchased, and I don't know for sure, but it was either a 68 or 69 red GTO. It was an automatic car, no wrecks, no dents, no rust, solid car. But the paint was all, you know, sun faded and oxidized. It had just black factory 14-inch steely rims all the way around it and fairly small tires. And all we knew about it was a V8, and Jimmy bought it for, I don't know, it was like $2,200 or $2,500. It wasn't super expensive, but it was kind of expensive for 1987. So he bought this car. Nobody gave him any credit at all. I mean, it's you know, back in those days, people generally gave Pontiac no credit at all. Like the people that we raced with and we hung out with, they never considered Pontiacs being fast. And Jimmy kept saying, oh, this car's fast. You know, this thing's really fast. Well, I'll tell you a little more about that car once I tell you how this went down. So we're out at the street races, and we've watched several races, but none of the really quicker cars have been racing. They're mostly just talking, hanging out, and having a good time all night long. Jimmy's Wade and his stupid GTO, he's trying to get a race. Nobody will race him, because I mean his car looks like, you know, you could beat him with, you know, your mom's station wagon. So everybody's like, no, you know, wait for one of them Mustang guys to show up or something. You can race one of them stock cars. Well, it just turned out he couldn't find a race all night. He kept bugging Clint and Brent. Man, I really think I can take you. And they're laughing. We're all thinking it's hilarious. And all night long, Clint was just like, get that turd out of here. You know, nobody's going to race that stupid turd. And finally, at the end of the night, Jimmy asked him again, man, I think you're just not going to race me because you're afraid you're going to get beat. Well, that got the fire in Clint, and he's like, all right, get in that turd and get out there. We're going to get this over with. So Clint's decided he's going to take his truck out there and embarrass Jimmy so he'll shut his mouth and quit begging people. So long story short, they get out there. Clint does a nice little burnout. They get staged. Naturally, light comes on. Clint just launches, just digs this dude in the dirt and just leaves Jimmy back there like he forgot to put his car in gear. And of course, we're not surprised because everyone was like, okay, yeah. They, you know, now keep in mind, we're racing 8th mile. So 8th mile races happen fast. There ain't a whole lot of time. He launches on Jimmy, makes him look silly. They're maybe coming up on the halfway mark of the 8th. Jimmy covers the gap, pulls up beside him, and just walks him. I mean, gaps him in that 8th mile. And we're laughing our butts off because we're like, dude, Clint let Jimmy win. Now he'll never stop talking. Dude, he'll never quit asking people to race now. So they go down, they come back. Jimmy pulls in. Of course, he's ecstatic. He's just laughing. You know, he couldn't be happier. Dude, I just smoked that truck. Blah, blah, blah. We're like, dude, he let you win. Don't get a big head or nothing. We talking no trash because you know he let you win. Clint, he come putting back in. He wasn't in no big hurry to come back. So we were like laughing. He gets out of the truck and we're like, what'd you let Jimmy beat you for? He's like, I didn't let him win shit. He goes, that goddamn Pontiac, He goes, I launched on him like a big dog. And next thing I knew, all I could hear were the stupid radials. He was spinning those radials as he drove by me. And we're like, what? You're retarded. He goes, no, I'm serious. He goes, all I could hear was his stupid tires squealing as he drove by me and beat me. And I was like, there's no way that car could be that fast. Little backstory on Jimmy's car. Not only was it a built 428 Pontiac, but it literally was like a 13-to-1 Pontiac with some kind of factory Pontiac cam, because it didn't lope and hit and all that like Clinton Brent's truck did. But it had like a 13-to-1 428 with the better Pontiac heads, this factory performance cam. I have no idea. It could have been a Ram or a 4-cam or something. Running back through a small converter to that 391 gear, and that thing flat was fast. Like, if you put it into perspective and you say, okay, Clinton Brent's car is a solid 1220, quarter mile, 780, high 770, eighth mile car. That old Pontiac was solid mid 11-second car on 14-inch radials. Because I mean to tell you, Clint smoked him off the start. He made him look foolish on the launch. And that stupid Pontiac with them 14-inch radial tires, I mean, ate his lunch. It wasn't even close at the finish line. So everybody was just astonished, you know. Of course, at that time, we didn't really know that much about the Pontiac. All we knew is that, in hindsight, he had a locked out distributor. But none of us, when we were 18 years old, we didn't really know what that meant. He had to literally pop the hood, retard the timing to get it to start, because with that 13-to-1 compression, it wouldn't he couldn't start the car because the starter wasn't strong enough. Once he got it started, he had it marked where he had start, and then he would advance the timing to put it where it ran. Now, I know that's pretty bizarre to think about, but all he knew was, well, I had to turn the distributor to start it, and then I got to turn it here for it to run. Now tell me that's not a crazy story. So you got this, you know, successful, proven, you know, I don't want to say race truck, but a street truck with a good reputation, and then someone goes out and buys a used car from somebody and basically embarrasses you. So that was one of the more funny stories that I've shared back during my 13 years building and racing Pontiacs, because I ended up getting into the Pontiacs just by, you know, luck and chance in the late 90s, and ended up building and racing my 71 Pontiac Ventura for a long time. But that was a cool story that I always enjoyed sharing with the Pontiac community about how a built big block got spanked by a built 428. So I appreciate you guys watching.